Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Wofford, the Programs Manager at the Woody Guthrie Center. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have two great friends of ours, Mike Merenda and Ruthie Ungar, with Mike and Ruthie, also with the Mammals. You guys have been working on some new projects over the past few years, actually. Tell us a little bit about Born to Win and kind of your work to bring this to our ears.
Cool. Yeah, Mike found that tune, or really found the words.
Born to Win. We're good friends with Sarah Lee Guthrie, and she performed at our festival in 2017 and did a reading as part of her set called "On Love," some words of Woody's, and it just brought the crowd to absolute standstill. And I talked to her after, where did that come from? And at the time, she didn't realize it had been published. She thought it was unpublished words of Woody's that she first heard from Jimmy LaFave when they did the Ribbon of Highway tour, the late Jimmy. And I went home that week and did some searching online, and I found On Love in this book called, I know this will be backwards coming through the video, but Born to Win. There's a book called Born to Win, right? And as I understand it, this was published very late in Woody's life, right before he passed away. And it's mostly a collection of journals and notes, poems, sort of like he was just such a fountain of content, like quantity, truly. Like the man just never stopped writing. And there was just so many jewels left behind. And they were published in this book, and I believe this was intended to raise some money for the kids, just to have another published release that would raise money for the family. It says that in the beginning, I believe. Yeah. So in the middle of this book, called Born to Win, is a song.
Why, there's a song called Born to Win.
Some words written out, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse. And I thought, shoot, I know a lot of Woody Guthrie, but I've never heard of this one. So, like I said, I searched around and I couldn't find any trace of the song Born to Win. And so decided I'd take the liberty to make up some music because we'd been down that road before, working with the archive with My New York City. And, I felt a little funny about it because usually the work that comes out of the archive is sort of handpicked and placed. Hey, would you guys work on this? But I took the liberty of diving in, and here we are. This was a couple years ago where it sat sort of just as an idea. And I performed the song here and there at shows, tried it out. The way that I constructed the music originally, I tried to do it like I thought Woody might have done it. So it's waltz time. It uses sort of classic folk country chords, sort of right out of the Carter Family Handbook, which I know Woody did a lot. So I tried to keep it really close to what I thought the source might be, because there isn't a recording of Woody doing it. And in classic Woody Guthrie form, there's this little postscript that he wrote, giving a little context about the song, which I'd love to read for you. The maddest I've been in my whole life was when I rode on a troop ship with more than 3,000 men headed for France. And we got about halfway out on the ocean and a big storm come up. The ship rocked and rolled and made a lot of us sick. We hadn't been across before. We turned on our radio and a song blubbered out over the loudspeaker. Born to Lose. Ain't that some hell of a damn song for the United States Army to have poked down its throat on its way into battle? I couldn't rest easy till I run and grabbed my pencil and wrote this one down. Born to Win.
That's gorgeous. And you talked about finding Woody Guthrie's word, and it's just amazing to us too, just how much he produced and how much he was able to do. And I think that story really shows you kind of a lot about his style of just like, I got to get this down, I got to write this down, I got to get this out of my brain and onto paper. But this song in particular, I think, like you said, the way that it was written as a response, you feel that in the song, and it is his uplifting tone and idea that carries along with it. For you, when you read that, what carried carried you along with that song to bring this to fruition? What stuck out in that song to make it a little bit different for you?
I just love that message of Born to Win and its like utter positivity, right? And that's sort of like Woody in a nutshell, which is not to say like Woody and Pete, they certainly covered some dark territory in their catalog, but I think the pervasive message is one of hope, right? The hoping machine and trying to lift people up, be honest about the world and reality, but ultimately try and lift people up. And like I said, I wrote the song sort of just shooting from the hip, my first impressions of how I thought Woody might do it. And it's a little bit mellow in performance, the Mammals version, which we'll play for you. And so I went back to the drawing board a bit because I wanted to play this with the band, and I was sort of picturing it on a festival stage, and I wanted it to be a song with that message that really lifted people up and inspired people. Born to win, don't give up. We're destined for great things. As it's turned out, we have multiple versions of this song, which is a little unorthodox, but I like that it's organic. It's our process. It's let's try it like this. Let's try it like this. Maybe that's what's so wonderful about music is that you can really tug at people's emotions and heartstrings in different ways for different contexts. And so we now have sort of the folky coffee shop version along the lines of a So Long, Been Good to Know Ya type of approach. And then there's this full-on folk rock version, maybe like, the Byrds might have approached it or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this song, and I love what he wrote about, when he heard that disheartening Born to Lose song, he couldn't rest until he grabbed his pencil and scribbled down this one, which to me, that's the message, that that if something is getting under your skin, you have the power. If you have like one pencil and a shred of something to write on, you have the power to try to manifest the right thing or the better thing or the thing that makes you be able to continue with your day. And that resonates with me a lot.
Just to get it out and make it tangible. Once it's out,
Yeah.
it's hold it, and it can be something.
Yeah, exactly. And like Mike said, we were Googling trying to find like, is there a Born to Win on an album? Woody Guthrie's Born to Win. Like, we couldn't find an audio version of it. So, well, let's just grab our pencil and make one.
I mean, as songwriters, I think songs are just omnipresent in our heads, right? And so you read some lyrics, and like I said, the first thing I did is, how does this song go? And I went to the internet and tried to find it because I wanted to know. And when I didn't come across it, I just started singing it. I don't even think I was intending to finish the song. I just started singing it because, like I said, it was presented in the book in verse, chorus, verse form. So it clearly was intended to be a song. Whereas a lot of the other work in this book, the On Love passage, which I mentioned, that Sarah Lee, it's mostly just written out in journal form or long form.
Prose.
Yeah. So this one, there was no doubt in my mind that it was intended to be.
It does say
song.
Chorus there.
Yeah.
It was meant to be sung, and it's fun to sing it with the whole band. We played it at a show the other day where the Restless Age, who do a really excellent version of this song, they're part of our band when available on drums and bass and keys. So we performed as like a 6-piece group in a backyard up the road a couple weeks ago, and it was really fun. That was like the segue moment between their set and our set where we jumped up and collaborated on the tune. And this is a crazy time where the first thing I said on stage to people was, hey guys, this is a sold out show. This is what a sold out show looks like right now, which is like, people scattered and a good 10-foot distance on a small backyard. So it's interesting. It's almost like the playing field has been leveled, and no matter how many people a band could generally draw. The 50 people is a sold out show right now for everybody, at least around here.
And you're talking about, this is mid-September when because how many shows do we even have these days? It's like 1 or 2 a month if we're lucky.
Yeah.
But people are just so ready for live music, and to hit them with this unveiling of Born to Win, right? And it was the Mammals and our friends the Restless Age were all on stage together. The shows we've had, they've been opening for us and then joining our band. And we've been using Born to Win as sort of the hinge number, where they'll play a few songs and then let's do Born to Win together, then we're all on stage. And the response was just pure magic. And that's luckily we have that video that captured the moment, because it's really one of the first times we were all playing this song together. And not only the song, but there just aren't many opportunities to play together with our friends. And so there's just like magic. There's like sparks flying off in all directions because of the context of it all,
I love that. And it seems like now is a time with so much going on to have that message in our heads that we are born to win.
Yeah.
Tough out there to have shows and to kind of keep things together. So remembering that hopefully can be helpful.
And to vote, right? I mean, it was my friend, a folk singer friend of ours named Robert Sarahs and Blake. We did a show together. It was about a year ago, last October, and I trotted out Born to Win. It was just a solo show for me, which I don't tour, but I do sparingly as Ruthless Mike, right? So it was Ruthless Mike performing Born to Win for one of the first times for a small house concert audience. And Robert, who's one of my best friends and definitely a sounding board in all things folky, he said, man, you've got to release that song before the election. And it sort of stuck in my head, like, oh, that's a great idea. And so, and it also set a deadline, because like I said, I first came up with the music, I think in 2017, and then it just sat in my phone for a while. I definitely shared it with Nora and Anna, say like, hey, look what I did. Is it okay? Like, is this cool? And they're like, we love it. Like, when you have a definitive version, send it to us and we'll point to it online, And then of course I got neurotic, like I can be like, oh, now I have to create a definitive version, and I overthought it. So what ended up happening was, I think that same year,
So now we have 3.
we have a lot of versions, like I said. So the Mammals were touring the West Coast, I think it was 2017 or 18, and the tour finished in San Diego, and the whole band flew home, and me and our road manager, Ovi Horta, were tasked with getting the van back across the country. So we stopped in Nashville and visited Third Man Records, right? Jack White's record label and recording studio and record shop. And in the record shop, he, in true Jack White fashion, like the Willy Wonka of the music industry, he has an old phone booth size record your song direct to vinyl recording booth. And so I stepped in, and I remember I sort of had a cold, and we had been on the road, and my chest was a little funny, but there was a guitar hanging on the wall. And
Looks cool.
oh yeah, hold it up for the camera.
There we go.
You put $10 in, and this little clock starts ticking down how much time you have. And I think you only have like 2 minutes and 40 seconds to record your song. And so I was like, this is a really great opportunity to make a version of Born to Win. Because like I said, I was sort of after trying to capture the spirit of what I thought Woody might have done with this song, how he would have done it. And there's no better way to reproduce that than a scratchy old, 78 sounding recording, which is exactly what this is. So now this disc sat on our shelf for like another 3 years undigitized. Like, I'd play it for some people, like, hey, check this out.
Well, that's important. It has to sit there and then be rediscovered and digitized. It's
right.
perfect.
It's
You
like
did it
we
just
had to
right,
cull it
Mike.
from our own archive. So like I said, when we had the deadline of let's get this out before the election, all right, find that record, figure out how to digitize it well. And in the intervening years, like I said, we played around with different versions, and we came up with this sort of folk rock version, and we made some demos of that. And it was one of those demos that our bandmates, who are a band unto themselves, the Restless Age, they said, do you mind if we record that version of Born to Win? It's great. And we said, go for it. So that's how we ended up with the Restless Age having sort of a rock and roll version of Born to Win, us having this really archaic, for lack of a better word, like this really like grainy, very cool sounding really close to the bone Woody Guthrie presentation. And then, like we said, this live version, which we just cut a few weeks ago and happened to be captured by our road manager. And we're releasing all three of them because they're so different, right? It was like the waltz.
Hashtag folk process.
Yeah, the archaic recording studio in Nashville at Jack White's record booth, the hi-fi Restless Age version, and then the live presentation. And it's cool. It's cool.
Well, would you all mind playing a version for us?
All right, Born to Win, key of D. I've had my fun and my troubles. I've had my hard luck and blues. I've been up, I've been down, sober and drunk, but I know I'm not born to lose. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. It's a funny old world I'm in. I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. I've known women all kinds and all colors, in every land where I have been. I've seen good people in trouble like me, but I know we're not born to lose. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. It's a funny old world I'm in. I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. Well, you robbed us, beat us, and bled us, worked us and paid us like slaves. I know we're all born to work and to fight and to win or go down in our graves. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. It's a funny old world I'm in. I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. Yeah, I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. Born to win, you know I'm born to win.
That's so great. I really, really enjoy that.
Thanks.
Jerry.
It really does. I mean, having heard all the different versions, each one has their own like feeling, and I think you need to have them all kind of to fit each mood that you have.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you agree because, you know, we hemmed and hawed. Which one do we release? And then we came to the conclusion they all do have something sort of
Yeah.
unique to offer.
And that was yet another one with me playing the fiddle and trying to indicate a turnaround that Mike wasn't quite catching. So that's its own arrangement. It will never happen exactly that way again.
It's
trust.
Again, how many Woody Guthrie recordings do we have where there was certainly not a lot of
Some
rehearsal
sort of tangential
that went on?
mandolin turnaround. Yeah, there's what is it? Pallet on your floor.
Bed on the floor.
Oh, bed on the
boys,
floor. Oh
bed
man,
on the floor.
you know that one? Yeah, bed on the floor, boys, bed on the floor. I don't know. For some reason, that's like one of our favorite old Woody recordings, and I love that no one can agree whether it goes to the 4-chord or 5-chord or what, and it just every time like one of them doesn't go, and it's
And
great.
it's not just someone playing the not I don't even want to say the wrong chords. It's just they chose a different chord, but it's the harmony singing too.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
reminds me of the old days, like playing with Pete and playing with people of that generation, where it was like not really agreed whether you resolve at the end of every chorus or not. It's like it's kind of part of the music is that you don't really want to know necessarily. Kind of want to get it wrong a few times.
it's sort of what keeps
Otherwise, it's just, I don't know.
it's what keeps it on the front
Top
porch in
40
some
or
ways.
something.
You know what I mean? Right. Right.
Yeah, and I loved like when we would play. We played a lot of shows with Pete, and there was a fair amount of not knowing, what verse was coming or how many bars between verses, and it keeps you on your toes, gives you a little more adrenaline, and yeah, we have a foot in both worlds. Sometimes we play very highly arranged music, but try to keep that energy all the time that it might fall apart. That's for you. That's for you. We do that.
Well, and that's the thing too that I think we're missing a lot from live shows these days. Not having them is that spontaneity. But you
Yeah.
talked a lot about the work you did with Pete, and I kind of wanted to talk about how you got into this folk world and how you got into Woody and how you got into kind of looking at his songs and kind of taking those along and putting your own flavor to them.
Cool. Well, when the Mammals started, it was a trio, and it was Mike here, me, and Tao Rodriguez Seeger, who is, of course, Pete's grandson. And Tao had just been starting to play in another trio with Sarah Lee Guthrie and Johnny Irion. And indeed, we even played, I believe, at Lincoln Center as a quintet, the five of us in a big line with like 10 microphones.
They called their trio Rig.
Right, so that was their last name initials, and we just threw ours in there and got Mr. Oogie. So that quintet, Mr. Oogie, probably played like a total of 5 shows ever, but it was really fun. And yeah, in those first couple of years as the Mammals as a trio, one of the things we got to do was go all the way to Salt Lake City for the Winter Olympics and play with the Salt Lake City Children's Dance Theater, which was quite amazing. They choreographed dance pieces to Pete Seeger material, and a couple of Woody songs in there for sure. So that was a remarkable concert of kids, little kids up to teenagers, dancing to these recordings, which were very unique folk recordings where he did wait 3 bars for the third verse and not the second verse and that kind of stuff. So we had to learn those exactly. And that was maybe when I first really had to think on that granular level of, oh, these little kids are counting on us to do it the same every time.
This was, I think, 2002. Is that right?
I think it might have been.
It was
yeah.
during the Salt Lake City Olympics.
Yeah.
It was the Children's Dance Company of Salt Lake City.
I told him that.
Yeah, like Ruth, you said, when you're choreographing to a song, you want it to be the same every night.
So yeah, and it was a great look into some repertoire that they had discovered that I didn't know. So I knew a lot of Pete songs growing up. Woody Guthrie albums were my childhood, first musical meals in many cases. But there were some really cool deep cuts that we got to learn, and just had that pretty very memorable experience playing in this gorgeous theater in Salt Lake City. And we played with Pete a few other festivals, and other wonderful experiences followed. And our band, the Mammals, grew to incorporate a bass player and a drummer. And we evolved, and we would always, Tao loved to play really old songs in his sort of new style and write new tunes, and his music just was organically really connected. He played a 12-string guitar and a long neck banjo, and
I remember we got to tour with Arlo in 2006, was it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Mammals, I think it was 2006. It could have been 5 as well, that we did a bunch of shows with Arlo opening for him. and then backing him up as his band. And we did Coming into LA, and we did I can remember some of the, I feel like, well, it was the Alice's Restaurant 40th anniversary tour,
so
Massacre.
exactly.
It was a good time.
So
He had those stickers that said Arlo Guthrie, you loved him then, you loved him then.
Yeah, but that was a big deal to be on tour with Arlo, playing all the nicest theaters in the country.
Yeah, that was
which culminated
incredible.
at Carnegie Hall. And I'm just remembering, Nora, his sister Nora Guthrie, was at that Carnegie Hall show, and we performed John Henry, the old John, the fast steel driving man, and the Mammals did it like really fast and hard. Was it one of the triple banjo numbers? No, double banjos, fiddle, but drums and bass, and just like a real driving sort of punk rock bluegrass version of John Henry, the old chestnut. And Nora came up to us after. She said, I want you guys to do something from the archive like that. Like, she wanted that visceral, energetic version of some unfinished Woody
Still
song.
haven't done
that
that.
never actually happened. And the band sort of went on hiatus.
That sounds fun.
A couple years after that, but it always stuck in my mind, like, man, I really want to work on a Woody song. And then we've been around then started touring more duo shows as Mike and Ruthie, and that's when she tapped us for My New York City, which is sort of a love song set in the city with New York as sort of the backdrop. And that's when she asked us to work on the My New York City project. But the seed was sort of planted, inspired by that John Henry.
Well, that's how
visceral
things
energy.
are in this business and in this world. Little moments that
Seeds planted.
seeds that sprout years later into something somewhat
But
related.
I guess it was the relationship with Tao, and that and of course Ruthie, her dad is a fiddler, and she came up in the folk community and knew of the Seegers, and your dad is friends with the Seegers from way back, and so there's always been that connection there. But once we started working with Tao, it really solidified that relationship. And the Seegers and Guthries through all these years they're like family,
Yeah.
So then we were just sort of all in this really tight-knit community. And of course there was the whole, like, the next generation of Seegers and Guthries carrying the torch, and that whole, I mean, it was real. It was true,
I always really liked that song that Sarah Lee and Johnny did, that No Church Tonight.
That was another one that wasn't supposed to, it was an unauthorized.
Woody.
I think they found the lyrics on Arlo's countertop, and they're like,
Really?
what if it went like
Oh man,
this?
that was good. I love that song.
Yeah.
I wonder, since you have so much connection to the music and also the people who were making the music at the time, how does that influence your approach when you do go to put music to some of Woody's words? I mean, is that kind of in the back of your head, the families and the friends' voices kind of maybe guiding you along?
Yeah, definitely. That's so beautiful. And for me, it's really my family's voices too, because I grew up, when I met Mike and I kind of like roped him into learning the banjo and folk music and stuff, he was a songwriter and a drummer and in like indie rock band and into things as folky as maybe Bob Dylan. But
Bob Dylan was my touchstone for folk music, but it didn't get much deeper than that in the traditional sense, right?
Yeah, and actually this space that we're in right now, this is this is our recording studio, and it's also the old headquarters of Fiddle and Dance, my dad's business, which was like running music and dance camps and dances and events around the Hudson Valley, booking the dance stage at Clearwater Hudson River Revival for many years, working closely with Toshi there, and then just being a fiddle player and gigging and all that stuff. So he and my mom, and then he and my stepmom continued to tour and record and play fiddle and different kinds of traditional folk music. And my mom and I have a gig coming up in a week on Zoom, singing some honky tonk songs together. So I've maintained that connection to my folks through that musical connection of singing all different kinds of traditional and Americana type music. So I've always loved harmonies. I've always loved, just the straight ahead way that something should go, like kind of like that waltz version of Born to Win. It's, to me, it's satisfying to just do it how we would hear in our heads Woody doing it, like to not try to make it cool or new or just
Well,
I
like,
feel like
yeah.
if there's people still alive who like can do that, it's like our job to kind of do that. It's like it's fun to rock out with it and play it with like that kind of dancey groove that we play with it too. I love that too. I'm not a purist, or we used to call them folk Nazis in the old days, like people who would show up and say, well, like, I don't know, that John Henry, it was a little much, or something like. Yeah, we're not like that, but I do think it is a responsibility maybe to continue on those really comforting recipes. It is like comfort food. It's like mac and cheese or something. It's like you can buy it in a box in the store, and maybe that's how even my kids, our kids, embarrassingly prefer the box. But I still make them eat my homemade mac and cheese once in a while because, when they're older, they'll appreciate it. They'll learn to make it.
You know, Woody and Pete and all them didn't like invent that tradition of stories and songs and telling that. I mean, this has been around for, since we could talk,
Right.
So
That's right.
it's so important for us to, do what y'all are doing and continue these traditions. And you mentioned My New York City. I'd love for you all to play that for us if you could. That's one of my favorites. Y'all played this for us when we did the 80th anniversary of This Land Is Your Land celebration at Town Hall in New York City, weeks before we all locked ourselves in our homes for a while.
I know, right? That was like the last gasp
Thank
of
you
live
so much for
entertainment.
inviting us to that. It was an incredible experience, especially looking back on how close it was to the shutdown. And
That was amazing. Yeah.
yeah, we met Branjay and hung out with the Gangsta Grass guys, and it was a really cool
David
finale.
Amram. Yeah. No, that was a
Amram,
really
that was
special,
really
special night.
special night. And it was, what was the story? We were like a few feet from where he wrote the tune.
Yeah, so he wrote Your Land we were about halfway on down the block, and he wrote it at the corner. I mean, you could walk out of Town Hall, take a left, and it's right there. I mean, it's a Steinway
The
piano,
Steinway piano. Yeah.
which is
That's
still
it.
beautiful. Yeah, the music
It
lives in
is.
the corner.
Well,
Yeah.
Sarah Lee has been playing a lot of piano, and I'm sure she'd be happy to join in on that.
That's right.
And I do love that she is on the Jack White recorded version of that. She sings little vocals in that recording.
Yeah, she and I laid down the harmonies. It was so fun to do. Yeah, we kept it real too, not too polished.
Not too many takes. Yeah, it's good. Sarah Lee's a really close friend, and we love working with her and hanging out whenever we can. And our friends have become close and all that. So it's a wonderful family. We feel lucky to be part of it, really. And so My New York City that we did at Town Hall was included on. Was it a triple disc set
I think so.
that Woody Guthrie Publications released?
Wandered around.
Rambling Around Woody Guthrie's Town. My Name is New York was the name of the collection.
That's right.
And the first two discs were sort of audio documentary of Nora telling stories cut in with old interviews and archival recordings. In fact, I think it's that collection you were talking about when we were backing up Pete in 2002 for the Salt Lake City Children's Dance Company. And there's a story of Woody performing for Marjorie's dance company in the
I love
city.
that, yeah.
And that everyone was just so frustrated because same thing. He just
couldn't keep his tempo
couldn't
straight.
do it the same every day because that's just not how he was built, Same with Pete. They played it how they felt it
Yeah.
that moment, not yesterday's moment. And I think it's in that collection where they sort of look back on that story with some laughter. Maybe it's even Marjorie telling the story. I just love that.
Cool. Or maybe Nora reading something.
Yeah.
Well, either way, it's a wonderful,
I love that
wonderful
collection.
recording. There's songs on one disc, and I think 2 discs of stories and archival audio. It's really an incredible journey, a ramble around New York with Woody. And this song, when she gave it to us, just felt really special because Mike and I did meet in New York, and so it just, it's really special. We went and filmed a video down on Mermaid Avenue when I was, I don't know, like 5 months pregnant with our daughter. So it was a cool experience walking around with just one other friend who had the camera who was filming. And we met some folks, wandered and played and sang Woody's song there.
We were trying to
the
find
beach.
the address where the song was written because it was scribbled at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, we didn't have any luck with that, but we still had a cool experience.
And of course, there's the picture of the house on the Mermaid Avenues, volume 1 through 3, that have been released. So we thought we should be able to find it. It turns out that house isn't there anymore. But yeah, what Ruthie was just starting to tell is we're standing there. It's February. It's sort of cold. We're a little defeated. Didn't find the house. That's where we wanted to shoot the video. And we ended up being approached by a local who said, well, what are you guys doing around here with these instruments? He said, are you playing a gig? And we said, no, we're just here to shoot a video. And he said, well, would you play me a song right here? So we took our instruments out of the cases. And again, this is right in front of where Woody's house was. So like spiritually, we were sort of on his stoop, right?
We're close.
So we sang him, this gentleman, Richard Martinez was his name?
I think that was his name.
We sang him some old traditional tune on guitar and banjo,
Yeah,
Red Rocking
Red
Chair,
Rocking
I think.
Chair.
And he said, that's very good, that's very good. Do you know La Bamba? And so then we cut into La Bamba, and he sang beautifully, like with authority, like really confidently. He sang La Bamba. And that moment, I think probably in the moment, I didn't realize it, but I don't think anything could have embodied the spirit of Woody than complete strangers on the sidewalk sharing a mutual repertoire together with a couple of acoustic instruments, right? So it was really a moment. And that you can find that on YouTube. I think it's called like Richard Martinez Incident or something like that. Encounter. Mike and Ruthie and Richard Martinez Encounter.
If you search us on La Bamba, it's pretty much got to come up.
I hope so. And the My New York City video is really gorgeously shot by our friend Tom Schnate.
Yeah.
This was back in 2011 or so, but we still sing this song. It came out as a Mike and Ruthie recording, actually. Here's the more show and tell. You want to hold that up?
Yeah, I'll take it out of its sleeve.
Yep. It was originally, like I said, we were asked to do it for the My Name is New York collection that Woody Guthrie Publications put out, but they let us put it out on our own release as well. So we made a 7-inch, and the words that they sent us to work from, I remember, and this was years ago, right? This is almost 10 years ago. And it was the first time we had been tapped to work on some Woody lyrics. And of course, we'd been sort of chomping at the bit to get that opportunity ever since Nora mentioned it at that Carnegie Hall show. And here it was. And I remember being a little psyched out because I actually couldn't find my way into these words. They seemed almost too simple, but of course that's the magic of Woody, is that he writes down what's in front of him plain as day. Like he really doesn't overthink things. Like Born to Win, it's just like what's happening is what you get, right? And so I don't know how we cracked the code eventually, but I think we had to. Probably my first inclination was to do it like Woody would have done, and that just wasn't working. It just didn't gel. And then we did it like we would have done it, and that's when Ruthie made the suggestion, what if you do that guitar pattern? There's this like thing that, you pick up a guitar and you start playing a couple things that you always play, she's like, play that. Just like sort of, it's one of the things I've been playing on guitar since I learned how to play guitar, just this really simple progression. And I like that that's an element of this because it connects me to like my roots as like a self-taught guitarist. So it's very pure me and then us, because Ruthie then brings her performance of these words and the thing just levitates, and it's more often than not somebody's crying by the end of this song.
It was definitely like 9 years ago because our son is 12, and when he was 3, we were first performing this song on a tour of house concerts in the Pacific Northwest. Like we were actually touring through Canada, through Canadian Rockies, through from Calgary to Vancouver, doing house concerts. And I remember thinking, like, how much are a bunch of West Coast Canadians gonna resonate with this love song and this New York City song? And then sure enough, they were always they'd cry
We
or
found,
they'd
yeah,
feel
the further we
It-
got away from New York, the more the song was revered.
Yeah, there's something about it. It just it doesn't matter. People have been touched by it regardless of the I don't know, regardless of whether they're from New York or know anybody from New York. It's just like Mike said, the simplicity of the words just
It's sort of a
translates
love
anyway.
song to New York, but another fact that I found out, I think after we recorded it, and this is, I don't generally share this, but here we are talking to you and like, the heartbeat of all things Woody Guthrie and the Woody Guthrie Center. We usually play the song off as a love song to New York, but also a romantic love. But I believe the song was written 6 months after Woody and Marjorie's daughter had died. So there's a lot of that in the lyrics as well. And it's not immediately apparent that it's this longing for a lost child, but I certainly think that a lot of that is in there, especially in the last verse. And it just gives it that extra gravity that, like I said, isn't necessarily apparent on first listen, but there's a lot going on in what Woody was putting down.
Even I think some of the early lines when he's talking about looking out at the gray day from the subway, like I don't have a subway here, but I do look out my window at a gray, cloudy day, and
Sure.
those sorts of feelings. So I think it is pretty universal. I mean,
Right.
as he's talking about it, but your perspective on that is truly interesting. I'm anxious to hear it with that kind of context in my head too.
I also love how, if Woody wrote, "This land is your land, this land is my land," he's always in my New York City, rambling around, what was it?
My name is New York.
Is New York.
Yeah.
Like he's very quick to own everything, which I think is kind of cool. It's empowering. And in a sense, maybe it sounds a little, I don't know, presumptuous maybe, but I don't think it is. I think I take it in the same way that we've been trying to think more and more about how we are a part of nature. Nature is a part of us, and we're all one thing. It's not like, this earth isn't mine, so I can destroy it. It's mine, so I can take care of it. You take care of the things that are yours. I wrote actually a song on our recent album. If this land is your land, if this land is mine, let's not leave it dirty for the ones who come behind. It's ours to care for. It's ours to share. So we all got to drink the water. We all got to breathe the air. So that was my like trying to reframe that whole, it's mine, it's not that it's not possessive. It's more like pride, taking pride in being one with it.
Right.
And it is collective. So I'm trying to, singing My New York City, it's the same thing. It's like a certain, like, almost like a pledge of allegiance or loyalty to a place that you love and people you love that you don't even know. That's what I think.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's sing it already.
All right, cool.
Cool.
All right. Again, like I mentioned, the classic Woody Guthrie preamble or postscript at the bottom of the page, he had a little extra to say. If music and songs ever do get to be put over soft speakers in all of our subway trains, I'd like to sit back, ride along, listen to this one song. Someday our subway trains might have some kind of music in them. There's plenty on the eyes and the faces of the folks riding along to make up 1,000 good songs about. If you just watch real close at the looks on the faces, if you look and listen a little bit closer, you might even hear an old and a new song. Somewhere, away back, in the grazing lands of your own old memories and future plans. WWG, Mermaid Avenue, 1947.
I'm riding on this western train this gray and rainy day. I'm looking out my window at a sight so fair to see. walked and rode in rain and sun through Brooklyn, Bronx, and Queens. Seen a billion, jillion faces that are New York town to me. Ride my subway train from here to heaven. Ride my ferry boat up my muddy river. Walk our beach sand and our blades of green grass. My New York City is the town where I found you. I can see our black roof housetop shining yonder in the rain, and I can see our concrete highway running yonder in the sun. And I see your face there shining where the kids play in the streets. In a billion, jillion windows that are New York town to me. Ride my subway train from here to heaven. Ride my ferry boat up my muddy river. Walk our beach sand and our blades of green grass. My New York City is the town where I found you. No matter where this train rolls, I look out my window glass. Your eyes shine in my chimneys through my buildings that I pass. I give my fame and fortune up to hold your hand today and go to billion, jillion places that are New York town to me. Ride my subway train from here to heaven. Ride my ferry boat up my muddy river. Walk our beach sand and our blades of green grass. My New York City is the town where I found you. My New York City is the town where I found you. My New York City is the town where I found you. Where I found you. Where I found you. I'm riding on this western train this gray and rainy day.
That is so gorgeous.
Thank you.
I love that. Well, before let y'all go, I know you're talking about Born to Win coming out early October, and part of that too is to help raise money for progressive candidates and causes. Could you tell me a little bit more about kind of what kind of groups or causes or people you're looking to support, and kind of what this will mean to be able to help provide some of that support?
Well, first I'll just remind you of Woody's left wing, right wing, chicken wing saying, which I've been thinking about a lot lately, because it's my opinion that the far left and the far right are about to unite on the other side of the sphere and form some other thing. It's a mutant chicken wing, and I'm
Maybe it's an organic chicken wing.
I think it is. It's a non-GMO chicken wing.
For sure.
And and his other wonderful quote of, "I ain't never been a communist, but I've been in the red my whole life." So just chew on that, folks.
Yeah.
On that note,
You put it really well in the press release, Ruthie.
oh, did I?
Like I said, we want to do something for the cause, for progressive candidates, and to lead up to this election. I mean, how much money can you make selling a song these days? It's not really about that. It's just giving people a reason to give, right? And I think we've been intentionally a little vague about who we're gonna or what we're gonna put the money towards. But I think in this month, I feel like it might present itself. We'll see where some funds might be needed. Certainly, I've been paying a lot of attention to indigenous rights over land in this country, but also in the world. Obviously, there's a lot of pain and suffering going on at the border. And then this overarching environmental catastrophe that's sort of looming, right? And so candidates who, first of all, just acknowledge those issues are certainly going to be pretty high up on the list because they don't always make the talking points. And it's some pretty urgent transitions and a renaissance that really needs to be precipitated soon. So whoever's speaking to those issues is certainly we're gonna fan those flames.
I'll just put, we don't endorse arson, but we do support social justice.
Good Lord.
I just want to be clear on that, and also say that I remember when pollution was just agreeably bad, right? So since there's this concept of climate change that some people believe exists and some people believe doesn't exist, or at least is not man-made and can't be helped by us, suddenly we've lost the fact that air pollution, water pollution, any other kind of pollution is also just bad because we want to breathe and drink clean air and water. So I'm all about that cause as to reminding us all that we used to agree on that. Perhaps we still do. And that maybe that's a starting point that we should circle back to. So I'm just going to put that out there. So that's a cause I believe in.
Of all the many worthy causes out there, that's a pretty good starting block, especially for.
And I don't see how it can be polarizing, really.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think it goes with the message too of what's the line in that? Fight to change to how it ought to be. Born to Win.
I'll fight to change it how it ought to be. Yeah.
That just goes right to exactly what y'all are doing with this. So thank you for taking those words and putting some music to them. We'll leave folks with the video that you all shot with the rest.
Right on.
But Mike and Ruthie, thank you all so much for joining us and being part of this and the work that you all are continuing to do. It's bringing us a lot of joy.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and thanks. Jerry, you guys, when we reached out to you, you guys hopped right on board with the sort of rollout and just wanted to be a part of it. And that means so much to us because getting the music to the people is not necessarily our forte. Making the music we're quite good at this point, but sharing it still needs all the help we can get. So we're really, really grateful for that.
Yeah, thanks to everybody out there for sharing this one with your friends if you like it. This video was shot live on a chilly September evening in West Shokan, New York, and we sure hope you enjoy it.
I love it. Well, it should be out by the time this video comes out, but the mammals.love is where you can find that and all the great music, including the new album
Nonette
that came out in May.
I brought that too.
Hey,
look at that.
So the mammals.love, you can find all kinds of good info.
Great. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Thanks a lot, y'all. We'll see y'all soon, hopefully.
All right, good.
Down to Oklahoma sometime.
Yeah.
All right, bye, y'all.
Take care.
was not born to live. You robbed us, beat us, and let us, worked us and paid us like slaves. I know I'm born to work and to fight and to win before I'm down in my grave. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. It's a funny old world I am in. I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. In all kinds and all colors, every land where I have been. And I've seen good people in trouble like me, but we'll win. You know we're born to win. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. It's a funny old world I am in. I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. Well, I've had my fun and my troubles. I've had my hard luck and blues. I've been up, I've been down. I've been sober and drunk, but I know that I'm not born to lose. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. It's a funny old world I am in. I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. It's a funny old world I am in. I'll fight to change it like it ought to be. Born to win, you know I'm born to win. Born to win, you know I'm born to win.
Yeah, those are old Woody Guthrie words that we set to music, all of us up on stage here. Isn't that great? Born to win.
All right.